got music playing in my head because this particular presentation I created for Jovian Archive several years ago. And what I did was I created a webinar basically, but they decided to, hi Benjamin, they decided to turn it into a video presentation instead. So this is a Human Design Angles and Profiles video that was going to tell you how we come about understanding where your costume in life comes from, where your profile comes from, where your angle comes from. So again, when you're watching this presentation with me, I want you to challenge yourself. You don't have to answer in the chat if you don't want to. You could just, as I ask you the question, you know, I ask you, let's say, for example, what is a keynote of the first line? This metaphor right here we see is a house metaphor that Ra came up with to help us understand and remember the concepts that are key, foundational in human design. Ah, foundational. If you said foundational for line 1, you're right. So we're going to go through a bunch of different slides. I'm going to progressively take you through where we get profiles and angles, what they're all about, and it kind of just helps you get a little bit more of a solid foundation on the basics of human designs, the fundamentals of human design. So this type of information we're going to be covering in Rave ABCs if you haven't taken it yet. So this is like a taster or an intro to the kinds of information we're going to be talking about. In Rave ABCs you also talk about circuitry. So for today we're going to focus just in on the lines and profiles themselves and angles. So by the end of today, you should know what this information is all about. Now, why do you want to know what this information is all about? Why is it important? Is because a profile is your costume. It's what you identify with as yourself, what you're wearing as you go through life and you experience what life is all about. So on my screen, I'm gonna go forward through and I'm gonna show you this particular presentation. So, the truth about behaviors. Your behaviors in life can all be boiled down to the costume that you're wearing. The grand theater of life that we're living, you are the starring role in your own movie. Isn't that right? You're the one that you're watching 24/7. You're watching your body move through this life. You sometimes say things that you're like, where did that come from? Sometimes you do things, you're like, why did I do that? Well, one of the biggest challenges to being a human, to being alive right now, and to loving yourself is understanding yourself, knowing who you are. So a really big part of this is your costume, your profile. If you learn about your particular role, you can free up your time to fulfill your karma, fate, or destiny, depending on which angle you are, by allowing yourself to let go of all of the recriminations in your head, all of the confusions, all of the machinations about why you did something. Oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. If you start to recognize who you really are and how you're here to behave, understanding your own behavior, it begins to lead you to self-acceptance, understanding, and self-love ultimately. Everything in human design boils down to allowing yourself to love yourself. It's the biggest gift that human design can give you. So in this webinar, I want to take you through this. It's for you if you want to understand profiles, which are a major aspect of the human design knowledge, understand your own, especially your own, and also your others. If you're a projector particularly, understanding others' roles and behaviors is really key for you to have success in this life, recognizing more about their potentials and possibilities depending on how you are designed to see the world. So you're going to be able to understand more about how you fulfill your purpose in this webinar. And again, if this is familiar to you because you're already going through Brave ABC's teacher training or whatever have you, any of the advanced educational platforms in human design, this is still for you to quiz yourself, because I'm going to ask you a lot of questions before I give you the answer. If I can remember, I'm going to do this a little differently this time. So you're going to want to have your body graph in front of you. So if you don't have it right now, go and grab it, grab a piece of paper, and write some notes if you want to, if that works for you. Write some questions. Minimize any distractions. I want this to be focused time for you to be able to study human design with me. Thanks for being here. So one of the things that Ra, and you know who Ra is, Ra Uru Hu, the founder of Human Design, one of the things that Ra said a lot was that we are formulas, unique formulas. Everything in human design, it's very logical because it is all about formulas. And so if we were to take a look at, here's Ra's chart, Ra's formulas. What are those words on the right-hand side? Type it into the chat or write it down, say it to yourself. It doesn't have to be. If you want to interact with each other, go for it. Ask each other questions. Have fun, guys. But what are these words on the right-hand side keynotes for? And if you don't know what a keynote is simply the representation of a particular formula. So now I'm going to point to some of the formulas in Ra's charts where we get these particular words. Here's a keynote right here, initiation, for this formula, this part of his formula. That is the channel of initiation. So if you guessed channel for all of these keynotes over here, you're right. What's another? Where is the channel of awakening at? Point to it on your screen, or you might type it in with it. What is the gates? What are the gates of the channel of awakening? What are the gates of the channel of structuring? How did Ra bring this huge, amazing system out into the world without thought, without notes, without, any really effort, apparently, it seemed on his part. Besides being, imbibed with that mystical experience of having downloaded all this information, how did he get it out into the world? What channel is the channel of structuring? You can just write down the gate names for me. The brainwave, that lightning fast intuition that knows what to say in the now. Oops, I pointed at it, sorry. It's in my habit to point at things when I'm talking about it. So you see the brainwave is the 5720. Where is the channel of perfected form? That channel of perfected form. So these labels, these formulas, are part of what he was here to be. It created who he was, what he was here to embody in this lifetime. This is his filtering mechanism. It is what the energies that he's here to transmit and also to receive. Now, if we're talking about formulas, we just talked about the channel formulas, right? Channels are something that you cover in rave cartography. Now, when we're looking at profile, we're looking at lines, we begin with lines in Rave ABCs, the next class after LYD. So here's the profile. He is a 5-1, and we're going to talk about those formulas today. We talk about profiles and angles and the hexagram lines. So this particular man had a map analogy for the body graph. So I'm going to read you this quote. In the Human Design Information, we have a treasure map. The map for each individual is accessible and available, yet it requires study in order to understand its structure. In learning to read your own map and to follow its path, your map's path, you embark on a journey into the core of your being at a true cellular level. Now, this takes time. So over that period of time, you begin to see the changes that living truly who you are brings. It is the adventure of life and a journey we are all here to make. Enjoy the ride. All of us who are blessed enough to come across the human design system, to experiment with it for a while, can see the beauty of our true nature start to shine forth, dispelling all the shadow behaviors and aspects and pains and sufferings and sorrows that are unnecessary. Now, life does bring pain and suffering and sorrow. Sometimes in your design there may be some challenges that you're really here to face, but there's nothing in your design that you can't handle as long as you're operating in alignment with what's true for you. You're making decisions according to your strategy and authority. So your treasure map, as you can see here, your human design mandala, everyone has everything in the body graph. There is none of this that you are missing. Nothing is broken, nothing is wrong. It's just that sometimes areas of your body graph operate in a consistent manner and other things are open. So we know this as either definition, consistency, what we transmit to the other, openness, where we take in receptive energies, where we learn and grow. Now, I just want to give you that because I want you to understand that everyone is perfect, unique, and special exactly as you are. And the magic behind this human design system is that you get to see that in this map, in this graph. Once you learn to read it, you get to see it play out on the stage of life. You get to see your consistency. And where we have consistency is in definition. And where we have profile now, I don't want you to get confused, but profile can come up in areas where it's open. So think about that for a little while. What does it mean to have your sun and earth on either side, personality or design? What does it feel like? What does it mean if someone has it in a defined center compared to an undefined center? You're going to see that, how it works for you in yourself, and also through the people that, if you're studying and if you're actually using human design in your practice, you're going to see this play out in their lives. So just understand that there's either consistency, a solidness, or there's an openness. So there's a flexibility, there's a learning experience there. Your treasure map is the way that we look at your human design is it's a static imprinting of when you were born and when 88 degrees of the sun's movement before you were born, about 3 months, there was another imprinting. When there was 2 imprints that happened, we have this static map in front of us. The reason why we give you strategy and authority profile is to help you identify what's consistent about you, okay? So just some foundational groundwork for people who have not studied this with us yet. And for those of you joining in the Facebook Live group, please click on the link below if you'd like to see the presentation that I'm talking about. So learning your lines. Welcome to Learning Your Lines, an introduction to human design, profiles, and angles. Your lines being those hexagram lines, like for today we're in gate 37, and here's the lines, the gate 37. Today we're in the first line. So that's where we talk about lines. But lines also in the format of, what am I here to actually be for the other, for myself, depending on your design? How do I filter the data of the world, this Maya that we live in, the consciousness that I am? Who am I in this world? What is my role? What are my lines? And here with the hexagram structure, we're going to use this house metaphor to help you remember what each of the lines are there to embody, what their purpose is. Part of fulfilling your life path, your purpose in life, is embodying your costume, your profile. These words that I'm using, if it's just a little bit too much, overwhelming, don't worry, just take it all in, absorb, and as we go through, you'll get to understand this. Repetition is the mother of all learning, so the more that you get familiar with this, the more easier it's going to be to learn the language and to speak it and to live it, to be it. So now, when we're looking at the hexagrams, this is an ancient diagram of the I Ching. There are 64, as you all know. So 64 of those hexagrams, every single hexagram has 6 lines. Those 6 lines are either broken, like this one at the bottom, it's a yin line, or solid, a yang line. Yin means female, yang means male. It's like this receptive, or this, pushing outward, this pushing upward, this dynamic energy of yang force. So when we talk about the I Ching, every single one of those 64 hexagrams have either a yin line or a yang line. Now, they're not static. They're always in movement. The only time things are static is in that moment, in that instant that we have the imprinting. But all of those hexagrams in the world, they're just moving about. They're moving around, and they have changing lines. Some of them are changing to other lines. But when we're looking at just profile, we're looking at that snapshot. So what is your snapshot? What is your line? Lines are labeled from the bottom up. 1 through 6. As we go through this presentation, you're going to see the dynamics of how these lines, the lower trigram and the upper trigram meaning 3, this group of 3, that's how we can divide this hexagram, hex meaning 6, into 2 different parts. And we're going to put them right next to each other so I can explain the dynamics of how the upper trigram relates to the lower trigram. Now, when we're looking in your human design chart, where your profile comes from, 70% of the energy that creates who you are is going to be on this right-hand side, the personality. These lines right here, what are the keynotes for these lines? Anybody want to chat in there or just test yourself? What is a keynote? It's any. You can just throw them out there, as many as you think of, but every single one of these 64 hexagrams, all first lines relate to each other. They resonate to each other. They have a similarity in quality, in frequency. That is why we can take all of those, any profile, no matter where your hexagram sun and earth is, it can be exactly attributed to a certain quality of behavior. And we get the line value from gate 10, which is the gate of behavior. So now we're just, these broad generics that we're using as hexagram line values, we're going to cover in this particular presentation. So I hope you guys had your chance to write down what you're resonating to as far as the quality of the first line. Now over here, that's the personality, that's the energy that you're going to resonate to consciously. It's what you're going to think of as yourself. You're going to read that about your hexagram and you're going to go, yeah, that's me, I recognize that. Now over here on the other side, 88 degrees before you were born of the sun's movement, there is a different, always going to be a different line value because we have an 88-degree difference. And I'm going to show you how that looks on a few more slides. But here on the unconscious, what is this person resonating to? What are the qualities of a third line? If you wanted to go ahead and type that out or write it down or share that in the group. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your friends there, our comrades in learning human design. I'm sure we'll be happy to help you. So third line, qualities. And if you have questions that can't be answered for some reason, hold them till the end and we'll talk more about that when we get a chance to see the screens of each other again. So, or I can see your screen where you're chatting. So here we have an example of, see, it's basically we're looking at the same thing. Right here in this last place, I'm looking at just the top 2. This is the Incarnation cross. In your design, if you take it out and you put it into the body graph, into the mandala, the Human Design mandala, this graph shows us, oh, for this person, her birthday, hi, that's me, Incarnation cross of contagion, the sun was right here in 30. Now, the sun is always going to be exactly opposite in the wheel, and here we have gate 29 for me as part of my Incarnation cross, my conscious sun, core essence, and earth, how I ground that essence in my personality. So now 88 degrees, what is that? Oh, the sun was actually over here in gate 14 3 months before I was born. And on the opposite side we have the earth, gate 8. Now down below this particular differentiation we have 6 lines, right? So now the line value, you can see between these little sections of the hexagrams, there's lines there. So we have a place that we were imprinted. So wherever that line is, no matter where it is in all of this entire hexagram wheel, if you have it in the 3rd line, you resonate. There's a feeling of recognition about all of these other gates in the 3rd line, okay? So if you're a 3rd line personality like me, you're going to resonate to go ahead and try and read for your particular line value, profile value, whether you're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Read all of the hexagram descriptions and all of the other gates and see for that line, whatever your line is, if you resonate with it, if you recognize it. That's how we have some genetic continuity as well. So when we're looking at, you can see here I have the 3 and the 5. There's always this offset. There's not ever going to be a profile that has a 3-3. You have the closest thing that comes to it is like a 6-3, where the 6th line actually operates like a 3 in the first 30 years of its life, because it has a tripartite life process, a transitional mutative life process. But there's never going to be exactly the same number. You're always going to have 12 profiles, and we're going to go over each of them to help you recognize how that works in your body graph. So this is me. Hi. I'm a Human Design certified professional, an analyst, a Living Your Design guide, and a BG5 consultant. I'm about to finish my Rave ABC's teacher training. And this is my practice session with you guys to talk about the lines. So thanks for being here, and thanks for testing yourself with me. So now we're going to discover your profile. Your profile, your costume, consists of one of these 6 lines. So here we have line 1. It's called, if you guessed investigator earlier, you're right. Line 2, this behavior is the hermit. Line 3 is the martyr. Line 4 is an opportunist. Line 5 is a heretic. Line 6 is a role model. So now these line values, you might look at them and go, yeah, I really resonate with that. You might not. Sometimes the reason that you don't resonate with it, let's say, for example, if you remember Ra's origination story about the human design system, what was he doing when he was living on the island of Ibiza? How was he living? What was his behavior when he was living on the island of Ibiza? As, quote unquote, he called himself not self, not in alignment with his true nature, not being the heretic that he was here to be. If you answered hermit, you're right. He was being living more like a hermit. So one of the things I want you to just be aware of is that if you're not living the costume of your purpose, if you're not in alignment with that, there's no way you can fulfill either your personal destiny, your transpersonal karma, or your fixed fate. Those are the 3 angles, and I'll show you later on, the 3 angles that all of these 12 profiles can fall under. Okay, so when we're looking at your human design chart, back over here when we're looking at this right here, remember that this right here, the sun and earth, is 70% of who you are. Then we have the nodal environment, your path, what you're designed to see, where you're designed to tread, who you're designed to help, where your purpose is fulfilled. Then we have your driving force, your moon. We have all the rest of these different line values. These are nuances and subtleties of who you are. So, how many 5th lines do I have in my design? You don't have to count them, I'll tell you. 10. I have 10 5th lines, so I really strongly resonated with the heretic when I first came to human design. I'm like, yeah, that's me. Everybody always thinks I'm going to save them. You know, projecting onto me that I can come in and save the day, that I can make things work, that I can fix things for them. But then I would step in, I would say yes. I have this gate 29, I'm going to have the gate of saying yes. I'm in my not self spontaneous and not knowing that I'm designed to be patient and wait and feel for clarity, but jump ahead despite the nervousness, despite the fear, and see what happens, just wanting to have an experience and see what happens. So how was I behaving before human design? Not in alignment with this resilient, adaptable, mutative, trial and error, but okay with it, making mistakes through life. I was not operating in alignment with my true self. So if you come to human design and you take a look at your profile, so I want you to just look at the right-hand side of your body graph. I want you to look at the stuff in black and see what your profile is. Now, as I go through these next steps where I talk about the hexagram, the places on this house to help you identify and remember and ground this in your memory and your experience, I want you to just really pay attention to the line value that is yours and see if you resonate. If you'd like to share, feel free to do so. If you share and you're really resonating with it, you've resonated with it all of your life, good for you, awesome. I'm really happy for you. I want you to just be aware. It's not about doing anything about it. It's not about making yourself wrong or somebody else right or whatever. It's just about seeing for you, okay? So now let's look into these particular line values. Line 1, if you could type in for me your, besides investigator, what are the other line qualities of line 1? We think about the foundation of a house. We're looking at the foundation of a house. What's at the bottom? This guy is actually looking under the foundation of the house. He's looking inward. He's introspective. That's another line value of line 1. So all of your first lines are going to be introspective. What is the nature of this all about? Today we're in the gate of friends and family. We're in gate 37. The first line is about looking inward. It is, let's see, where is my card so I can read it to you? It is the mother, the father. That's the essence of the family, okay? So every single first line that you have is going to resonate to introspection. What is the cornerstone of family? Mother, father. Without mother, father, you have no family, right? So you can see how it kind of relates. The behavior of a first line is looking inward, studying, right? So what other lines, ideas can you come up with for the first line? Please feel free to write. If you know your personal first line, so say you're a 40 with the first line. What is the first line for that? Please feel free to share in that chat room so that people can start to get a sense for what a first line is. You might want to have your Ravy Ching out in handy because that'll be helpful too for us to gather keynotes and to have this experience together. So your first line sometimes can be very insecure. It won't feel secure unless it has a solid foundation. Solid foundation of investigating or knowledge, some kind of essence. A first line, when you're looking at any of the hexagrams, the first line is the essence of that hexagram, okay? So if you're a first line profile, do you resonate with being an investigator? Excuse me. Do you resonate with maybe possibly having some insecurity around whatever it is about your life? Do you have this essence of wanting to have a solid, secure foundation? Do you recognize that? Do you resonate with that? So it is important for you, if you're a first line, to study, to become an authoritarian. There's another word. That word comes from gate 7, which is the gate of being our role of interaction, and interaction with others. So a first line is an authoritarian. You're here to be an authority, to have a solid grasp of whatever your hexagram is all about, okay? So hopefully that helps. Now when we look at a 2, what is a 2 doing? And why would he be in a window? And why would the lights be on and the curtain be drawn? Looks like it's at, or up. It looks like it's at night. So there's this projection happening where you can, it's almost like you're watching this screen and you see this person, that very clear, defined outline. What is a 2 like? What is the essence of a 2? If you remember in that last slide, we were talking about the line, the behavior. What's the behavior of a 2? A hermit, somebody who is a natural, somebody who just projects themselves, has this unconscious, free, not unconscious, sorry, that's a bad word, but not forced, this there's another word for it if somebody could help me out there. It's not needed to make any effort at it. This easy, free quality of having something be that they're really good at, they're naturally good at. They have no idea how they're so good at it, but that's what they're here to embody. So there's this unaware that they're a natural. Projection is the keynote that is really going to help you understand what all second lines are about. They don't like to study, not like the first line. They're a natural, they're the hermit. They just kind of want to do their own thing. They don't want to be bothered. They have this outward projection that they're unaware of. They don't know how they do what they do. They just do. So they're really good at that. Okay, so that's the second line. Now when we move to the third line, you can see, oh, we're not at the foundation of the house, the bottom of the house. We're not in the window, just sitting there doing our own thing. Here, we're actually on a ladder. Looks like a pretty precarious situation. And what kind of painter puts the paint all the way down there at where it can actually pull on or fold the ladder? We have the third line. Like we have the hazard symbol here that the artist put there. This is a third line is somebody who, what? What do? They're a line that is actually doing something. They're doing something. What are they doing? They're making a discovery. They're making mistakes. They're having trial and error. And that's one of the challenges in this line, is that there tends to be a lot of error. And us in our society don't really value what doesn't work. We only give accolades to people who do make things work, right? So we have a lot of the population, a significant portion of the population, who are either third lines or are experiencing that third line process because they have a sixth line in their profile. And that sixth line has a very innocent quality about it. It doesn't have the same resilience and adaptability that a third line does, and so its life can be very, very challenging. So too can the third line, but they're built for it. So what other comments can you make for the third line quality in someone? Oh, anarchist. There's their interaction with other people. Anything else besides the martyr, besides mutation, besides adaptation? What are the qualities of a third line? What are you here to embody, to experience as part of your path and your purpose of fulfilling your personal destiny, or your karma with the other, or your fixed fate that you're here to experience? Next, we have, hopefully I'm not going too fast for you. I don't know what time it is, but yeah, when this presentation is on, I can't see what time it is, so I'm going to keep moving. Here you have a fourth line. What do you notice about this fourth line? He's not even in the house, apparently, it looks like. Yeah, I guess this when we have a circle, it's looking into the house. But what is he doing, this fourth line? Looks like he's schmoozing, right? What does a fourth line do? What is it about? It's a line of networking, externalization. What is the behavior? What's the fourth line in gate 10? Opportunist. What else is he doing? He has influence with people he knows. Doesn't everybody who know, like, and trust you tend to want to gravitate towards you, and you know, you have influence with them when it comes to whatever it is that you are all about networking about, you know? So that is one of the ways that it has its ability to influence with others. It's a core part of your life of your fourth line profile. You are the friend. You have a network. Everything about your life depends on your network, the strength of your network. That's where all your opportunities come from. This is where you maybe abdicate. Sometimes you step down and you're okay with the rule of the majority because you're the friend, you're the one who wants everybody to have the opportunity, not just yourself, you know? Sometimes, maybe, possibly. So it is about opportunities for yourself, but also your network. How can I build up other people? How can I, you know, bring these other two people together, particularly if you're a projector. Projectors are really good at recognizing, you know, recognizing possibilities, potentials, recognizing others. As your recognition capacity is part of how you have your success. So how are you bringing people together and building your network, strengthening your network with this brotherhood, sisterhood, more keynotes for you type of energy? So if you're a profile fourth line, please write down your line, maybe your gate for us, so that we can share and understand and communicate with each other. Study this particular line value. Now next, we go to, ooh, this is dark. Why is it so dark in there? Look at this house. We're not looking inside the house. We're just seeing a shadow of somebody here. Why are we seeing a shadow? What is the keynote of a fifth line personality? Why would it be a shadow? Why wouldn't the lights be on like the two? What is this fifth line hiding from? Why would they hide? Go ahead and write down the fifth line energies, the keynotes that you know. Well, I know one, marketer. Why would it be marketer? Why would a fifth line market? Naturally, they're a heretic. They have a message, right? They're here to stand up on their soapbox and spread their message, depending on their design. But they have some kind of unique, innovative, different way of looking at the world. And so people look to them and call them a heretic. You heretic. But you know what's important for these fives? They need to have something practical to deliver to the other. When we're talking about the fifth line, he's not looking in at himself. He's looking outward, and he's seeing what can be fixed. He's seeing the problems that can be solved. Everyone, all of the different lines, all of us are looking up at that fifth line going, that person knows the answer. That person can solve my problems. That person can rescue me. The Savior is another line, keynote for the fifth line. What else do you have for me? So here, projected upon. Projected upon. Anyone who is a fifth line personality is never, ever, ever going to be accurately seen by another person. Think about the ramifications of that. What you're seeing about a fifth line is the projection of who they are. It's this projection field. It's this possibility for having a really a positive initial first perspective or encounter with this person, where you think, they're going to save me, they're going to rescue me, they're going to ride in on this white horse and solve all my problems. That's what a fifth line. Everyone's looking. It's the epitome. It's the completion of this hexagram. It's the end. When we get to the sixth line, it's no longer really part of that hexagram anymore. That sixth line is more about transition. So what are your other, general, behavior in interaction. The general is another keynote of the fifth line. So hopefully you got all that and more. Let's move on to the sixth line. Now, what's the sixth line doing on the top of the house? Kicking back, relaxing. Well, they must be in their sixth line process part of life. They're definitely not in the first 30 years. The sixth line has a tripartite life process where there's very distinguishable phases of their life. The first 30 years, third line process. Trial and error, experience. How do you get to be, what is the name of this sixth line in gate 10? What are they here to be ultimately when they're 50 and onward? Who are they here to be for? What are they for? They're here to be a trusted role model, a leader, right? How do you get to be a trusted role model or leader in life if you're only just sitting on the roof and watching life go by? You can't. You have to have experience. You have to have trial and error. You have to have this mutative, experiential road that you went through. Now, in the first 30 years of your life, it's kind of like you're crawling around like a caterpillar, where you're bumping into things. I don't think caterpillars can see very well, do you? They just don't really have the kind of experience in life that a butterfly, ultimately what it becomes, a butterfly has. So you can think of your first 30 years, if you're a sixth line profile, first 30 years you're crawling around like a caterpillar, learning from the ground up what it is like, down with the troops, you know what I mean? You're here to cocoon yourself. What happens is around age 30, you have this cocooning process where you pull back away from all of that trial and error, all of that experience that you're having in life. You're licking your wounds and you're retreating a bit, depending on your profile or your rest of your design. And you're observing. You become the observer. So let me go into this. The observer is one of the keynotes of this line of transition. Every sixth line in all of the hexagrams is a transition line to the next hexagram, the first line of the next hexagram. So it's not so concerned with its own gate process. It's concerned with the entire circuitry process. It is the observer. It's here to have a transition and be that role model. So what are some other keynotes that you recognize besides leadership, besides being, let's see, objective, being an optimist, being an administrator, being a role model, having attraction? You know, what is this energy like for you? What does it say in your human design? So go ahead and type that out or share if you like. So was that helpful, this hexagram? Most of you have probably been familiar with it because it's an essential part of how we teach the profiles, the particular line values to help you understand the difference between the qualities of each of the lines. So you could look at somebody's incarnation cross. I'm a cross of contagion. Another cross of contagion, completely different than me because they're not the same type, they're not the same authority, they're not the same line values, they're not the same colors, tones, and bases underneath, they're not the same planets, all that stuff, right? I have a friend who was born same day, we went to school together, and I am not at all like what she is, even though we have the same birthday, you know, not the same time, not the same exact place, but same birthday. Not exactly the same at all. These are just really broad, general thematics that you're going to recognize as yourself. It's part of how you fulfill your destiny, your fate, your karma, your process in life. This is the costume you're wearing, if you've got it as your personality in your design, okay? So now we're going to move over into helping you understand the relationship between the 1, 2, 3, the lower trigram, and the 4, 5, and 6, the upper trigram, just to help you remember how they relate to each other, because there is a harmonic quality between the ways that they interact with each other. So now if we're talking about profiles, there are some harmonic profiles where there's a harmony between the conscious earth and sun and the unconscious earth and sun, right? So we're going to take a look at how those work. Here we have, I've pulled the line harmonies, pulled the hexagrams apart so that you can see, rather than stacking them on top of each other, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're talking about here on the left, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, and 6. That's how I remember them. So now if we take a look at the first line, what is the similarity between the first line investigator and the fourth line opportunist? What do they both have in common? If we're just taking a look at this particular first line, where is he? He's at the foundation, right? He's at the bottom of the first floor. So this fourth line, it's a 2-story house. Where is this fourth line at? He's at the foundation of the second floor. So they both have this foundational quality for their trigrams. That's how they relate to each other. While the first line, here's the difference. First line is looking inward. Fourth line is externalizing. Okay? So we have the investigator and the opportunist that happen to have a harmonic, a difference but a sameness quality between the way that they relate to each other. That's how you can remember harmonies, okay? Just on a basic ground level. I tell you, if you start to remember these keynotes that we're going over in this particular presentation, you're going to be able to put together a much clearer picture of your own chart and other people's charts when you're looking at it, to just grasp the essence of what we're talking about when it comes to any of the gates. Mix these keynotes with what you know about the gates, and you'll be able to start to string together poetry that will really help you understand what this is all about for that person. You might start to describe things for them or for yourself. If a projector, it's really hard for yourself. But if you're doing it for somebody else, you start to describe something to them and they go, yeah, that's me. And it's really rewarding when you get to do that, to decipher your treasure map or somebody else's. So now let's look over into the second line. What does the second line have in common, this hermit, have in common with the fifth line? Oops. Where is that fifth? Oh yeah, he's up here. Light's not on for the fifth line. Well, that heretic, what does he have in common with the hermit? What are the qualities that make them more in harmony? What is that one word? Starts with a P if you don't remember it, what that one word is. They are both about projection. this is an area where they both have a harmonic. While the projection here is the second line projects it outward, the fifth line is actually being projected upon. Other people thinking that that's what they're all about. Just sensing that this is what that person's all about. Just from that initial first contact, that's what they think this person is about. There's this projection field around a fifth line that can be hard even for someone who knows them really, 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 really well. I have been in a relationship with someone who's a fifth line personality for almost 5 years now. Sometimes off, most time on. But it is really challenging to get away from that projection field that they have and see them for who they are. So that's the energy, the harmony between those two lines, okay? Now next we're looking at, last but not least, hey, it's me, the third line, Martyr. This precarious traveling up the ladder here. The transition line, oops, I said the word. Well, that's the word. The transition line between the first floor and the second floor, the Martyr. What is the similarity, the harmony between that and the sixth line? Besides the fact that the sixth line has that first 30 years tripartite life process where they have this trial and error experience. What is the word that's in between? Transition. There's this energy, this similarity between those two. So now that we've gone through this in this way, you actually have seen these people. I've tried to describe it to you in a very visceral, experiential way. You should not ever have to try and remember. You should be able to remember this without forgetting that the first, second, and third, put it on one side, put the fourth, fifth, and sixth on the other, and hey, you've got the foundation, you've got the projection, you've got the transition. Qualities, the harmonic values of any hexagram, every single hexagram that you look at. So now when you take a look at a gate, you can see it's line 2. You don't even have to read the quality of that particular gate. You can just apply the Investigator to all first lines, the Hermit to all second lines, the Martyr to all third lines. Does that make sense? Is it helpful for you? Opportunist for fourth lines, Heretic for fifth lines, and the Role Model for sixth lines. Role Model when they become 50 and above. They have that maturing process. As a, what are we? A Uranian, 9-centered being, we have a very much longer lifespan and a slower maturing process. So around age 40 is when we really get to have our experience of maturity in this life. Where Ra called it people who were below age 40-ish. You know, they were pretty much not very useful in the world because they're still going through their maturity process. Okay, so this should help you understand how line harmonies work. So now we get into this slide. So if you're new to human design, please don't worry. It looks very overwhelming, but you'll get to understand it. It's really not that hard to see. I'm going to show it to you in 2 different ways so that you can discover what your angle is all about. What is my angle? What the heck is my angle? Okay, so let's say we put all of the profiles on the left-hand side. I put the personality here in large format because that's what you're going to resonate to. Doesn't mean that the design on the other side it means any less. Had to put them smaller here because there's actually a movement through these profiles. I'm going to show you in the next slide exactly how that movement is in a little bit clearer format. But we're looking at these profiles. You have that investigative Martyr who has a theme of introspection and adaptation. That's their life experience. The gate theme is what they're going to be focused on. Anybody in blue, all this lower trigram stuff is going to be about that gate theme. That's what they're concerned with. The right angle, personal destiny. All of these people in blue, right angle. What is right angle about? It's about your own personal life process. It's not necessarily about the people that you meet, but your own development, your own experience with life. All right, so that's how we look at profiles. So let's say you're a 1-4. Why is it that we have this movement like this? It's because there's an 88-degree difference between the sun when you were born and the sun when you were imprinted before you were born, that 88-degree difference, that's why there's this movement here. That's why we have the evolution of the profiles of the lines through the hexagram, through the whole mandala. This is the evolutionary movement that you're seeing. Now, I don't want you to think of one being not as good as 6. It's all needs to be there. It's all perfect for your process. So don't try to look at something and go, I wish I was a 6 line instead of a 3. No, you're perfect as you are. So looking at this introspection, externalization, this is all about their own, looking at their gate process, and then unconsciously, their design, they're externalizing whatever that gate is about. Their life experience is their personal destiny, discovering who they are. If they're a generator, for themselves. If they're a projector, for the other. They're a manifester, what they're here to, how they're here to impact. You know, how have their impact and have their peace. If they're a reflector, what they're here to be surprised about, who they are, with they being everybody at large, because they're sampling, right? They're taking in all kinds of data. So you can see how this is applied. These are layerings. I'm showing you the formula for the profiles. So next we have projection and universalization. There's something interesting right there. This introspection, externalization, projection, universalization. What are these two line qualities to each other? What is the first line to the fourth line? What is the second line to the fifth line? What's their commonality? Oh, it's right there. Projection, projection, foundation, foundation. These are harmonies to each other. So now you can see where the harmonic profiles are coming from. Oops, 3-5. Hi, not me. I'm not harmonic. I've got adaptation going on and universalization. There is this energy there for experience and then finding out what doesn't work and being able to tell, hey guys, watch out for that wall. Don't go into that wall. That doesn't work. So next we have the 3 and 6. Ooh, there we go. Here it happens again. Here's another harmonic profile. Now, looking at this chart, you would think that there's an equal amount of harmonic profiles compared to non-harmonic profiles. Not true. We'll see in the next slides. I actually put in some information to help you see why that's not true. And I need some water, pardon me for a moment. It was full. I have a drinking problem. I have water all over me. Third line. I was trying to read my Facebook feed. No problem, Cheryl. I'm glad you guys can help me figure out how this works here. So what do we have next? What do we have? We have the next, oh, look at that. 4-1 now we have. A 4-1. 4-1. What is that? Externalization and introspection. And this should be moved down a little bit. Actually, it is there in the right place, but it's confusing with the different color change. But this is the only one that is an angle of juxtaposition. What is juxtaposition? Right next to each other, right? There's this fixed fate that they experience in life. It is not about being pulled into their own personal destiny. It's not about being pulled into somebody else's trip with their transpersonal karma you got to fulfill. It's actually this narrow line that you walk. You're not designed to be pulled away by these other things. You're more of a transition line between the two types of angles. You're here to draw them together, to have this narrow line that you walk that has a very clear, definite purpose that you cannot be swayed from. That's what the fixed fate is about. Now, when we look at these last pieces in red, the left angle, not as many left angles as we have right angles, right? Why is that? Because the right angles are more of the experiential road of actually discovering the research and development process of these profiles. If we think about all of our purpose and costumes, anybody who's down here in blue, the right angle with the personal destiny, has these experiences that they're testing out. They're coming into the world without any kind of experience memory that's clouding their judgment. They're like a new open vessel to what the world is for them to discover, to experience, to do that scientific experimentation with, and to find what either really works or what doesn't work on the material plane. And what happens with the left angle if you're a left angle, you come in with this transpersonal karmic memory, this almost this like ability to recognize people from your past, because remember, all of us are eternal, right? We've all got this personality crystal that's riding on top of the head that has been around for whenever the world was born, and we have this kind of experience of coming in and sensing that there's other people out there that we have some kind of karmic connection with. So when you encounter someone like this, either as a 5-1, 5-2, 6-2, 6-3, you're going to have this flash maybe of insight or intuition. Depending on your design, you might have this feeling of recognition, and that other person might come to you and ask you a question. So now, or maybe had to have some kind of relationship with you, some kind of dynamic. That karmic interaction you have with the other, depending on whether it's right for you according to your strategy and authority, is going to give you some kind of benefit, possibly for the other as well, definitely for you though, because there's some kind of karmic interaction that you need to have in order for your life to be, your purpose to be fulfilled. So think about this. If your incarnation cross is something really challenging, I'm gonna just give you a cross like individualism, or cross like confrontation, something that's really powerful, that has a lot of juice behind it. Are you going to need to use that cross all the time, every moment of every day? There is going to be, however, someone that you have to have some kind of interaction with in order for your purpose to be fulfilled. See how different that is from the right angle? The right angle isn't necessarily here for other people to have that kind of interaction. We're looking inward, right? First, second, and third line profiles, the lower trigram, they're more concerned with the gate theme. See that? Gate theme. It's not necessarily about the channel theme as it is with the 5-1 and the 5-2. It's not about the circuit theme as it is with the 6-2 and the 6-3. So this energy for the left angle, less of them around, because they're here to actually take what the right angle learned and have this universalization of it. Ooh, heretic, right? Perfect for them. Take only what's practical, deliver it according to your strategy and authority in alignment with who you are, and you get to fulfill your transpersonal karma. With the 6th line, the personality of transition, of role model, of being a trusted leader, somebody who administrates, you know, somebody who other people go to and just automatically call them the fool on the hill. The people would look up and go, yes, that's the one that we can trust. Whether or not you can trust them, you really should use your own authority to decide, but this person is not necessarily looking at their own personal gate themes. It's all about the circuit. So hopefully that helps you a little bit with understanding where these 12 profiles are coming from. The 5-1 being universalization, the Heretic Investigator, universalization and inspection, introspection, inspection too. And then 5-2, another harmonic profile where we have similarities and projection, and here we have the Heretic Hermit. Then we have the role model, 6th line, role model Hermit. And then we have the role model Martyr, right? With their energies of transition and adaptation, transition and projection. So that should help you understand more about how people are here to fulfill their life purpose. So, I should have, I forgot that I did this with this presentation. So anyway, there is that, the 12 profiles. So now this, have you guys seen this image before? And if you haven't, that's okay. It's generally something that we show in our Rave ABC's teacher training. I think that's when, teacher training, in Rave ABC, when you take Rave ABCs, first time I saw this, I think, was at Human Design America, and I had this recreated so that I wouldn't be just grabbing their graphic. But when you're looking at it, what do you know about something in black? What is the keynote for black in the human design? What side of my design is this? Personality, right? And what side of my design is in red? So now, if you're looking at this graph, the design is in red. So here is, we've taken, imagine that wheel that's going around in a circle. Let's just cut that wheel and take it and lay it right next to each other. Kind of like how we took the foundation of 1 through 3, the lower trigram and the upper trigram, and we put them next to each other, here we're taking that 88-degree movement and showing you how it looks next to each other. So now we can see why there's a short period of time that we have harmonic profiles actually being imprinted. Do you see that? So Julie, let me know if this is later on. If you have any questions about that, if that made it clear. As far as gate 13 being here, we see line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and funny, it's looking at it in a different way, but here's the 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3. So you can see that 13, when the sun is in gate 13, 88 degrees before they were born, every person will be imprinted with 43 in their unconscious sun. 43 down here in these lines, 1 through 3. Gate 1 up here in these lines, up here, when we have gate 13 in these lines. Do you see what that is, how that works? So that's why we have the movement. Now look at that. It's kind of like a spiral, isn't it? It's movement through the lines. This is the evolutionary, what Ra called the evolutionary spiral, kind of like our DNA spiral over here, that shows us how we have movement change, right? The I Ching is the book of changes. So that should help you understand how that works. So now I went and got an updated Human Design profile statistics from Jovian Archive. You can see here how we have that movement, why there is so few of the harmonic. Ooh, look at that, easy to see. Harmonic profiles are the minor amount of people. Nothing wrong with that. And then the other profiles, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 4, 6, 5, 1, 6, 2. Those are more common. You're going to find more of them. Hi, I'm common, 3, 5. So if you want to find more information about all of the different kinds of statistics at Jovian Archive, all you have to do is go there, and in the menu you can find, I believe it's resources. I have it on the bottom of this presentation when I send it to you. Hopefully it'll have a link there. I'm not sure. I haven't sent anybody presentations from here yet. So that was the essence of how you discover your profile, your angle, and whether or not you're about personal destiny, transpersonal karma, or fixed fate. Does anybody have any questions about that, where you want to share with me a little bit about that? Please feel free to start formulating your questions so that when I come back I can read them and see if we can answer them. Now, this information all came from Ra's presentation, his class, Mechanics of the Maya Angles and Profiles video series. It was actually the very first special that I bought from Jovian when I started studying. I had bought a couple little things, PHS of course, new to human design. Oh, I want to know how I'm supposed to eat. And then I learned about my particular, aura type, and this, I got the whole thing once I realized I really want to understand other people. How does this all work? So he has videos on every single one of the profiles so that you can understand more about who you are. And sometimes on sale, they'll do, not only is the whole package a discounted price off of buying them individually, but what happens is they also run regular sales throughout the year. And if you're a projector, you get your additional, what is it called? Embodiment. Not embodiment. It's called endowment. There's an endowment that you get to be a part of. If you send in your driver's license or some kind of form of ID that shows your birth date and you are a projector, they will give you 20% off almost everything in that store. I bought everything and it's all very worth it. So sometimes, then there's feedbacks here if you guys want to read that when you get to the download of this PDF. So that is where all this lovely graphics, most of them came from as well. And there it is. It's normally $285. It used to be $300. Now it's down to $247, and sometimes I'll have a sale on that. Okay? So, and there's a 100% guarantee. I'm not being paid to sell any of this, by the way. I'm just very loyal, and this is where I got the information from, is creating this presentation for their video. If you want to watch the video, it's scripted and it's me talking. It's not like this presentation, but if you want review or to share it with anyone, it's on their Jovian Archive YouTube page. So now we go to quarter questions and answers. And if you need to go, see you for later. Bye for now. One more thing I just wanted to write is that, or share with you before you go, is that life is about making decisions. This is a quote from Ra. A life that is free of resistance, anger, frustration, bitterness, disappointment. A life that allows you to fulfill your potential, success, satisfaction, peace, and surprise, delight in life. To be able to fulfill your role on this plane is a life that's rooted in true inner authority. So even though we didn't talk about authority at all in this presentation, it's all been about profile. I want you to remember to follow your strategy, use and honor your inner authority, and love yourself. If you have any doubt about loving yourself after a few years of experiencing human design, you may be able to catch a glimpse of really, truly honoring and loving yourself for who you are, not trying to be something you're not lamenting the fact that you're not something or the other thing, but actually, truly, really loving yourself. And that's my hope for all of you. So thank you so much for being here. Let's go to questions and see if there's anything else. And one last thing. I have, if you want to find out your life purpose, an incarnation cross reading integrates what we just covered. Those were the basics, not the gate details, but just the basics. It integrates all of that into an incarnation cross reading so that you can understand what you're here for and why. If you want to join me next month for Brave ABCs Diving into the Matrix, it's the next class after the Living Your Design Awakening program. So I hope to see you guys there. And please feel free to give me any feedback that you have for this presentation, how I can make it better, what didn't work, because that's what I'm here for, right? Bye.